What's good, y'all? What's poppin'? What's happening? How y'all doing? If you're new, my name is Joy. If you're returning, you already know what it is. So today's video is going to be just a chit chat talking about moving out of state. I feel like a lot of people want to move out of state, planning to move out of state, and this has been my second time moving out of state. So I feel like this would be the perfect time to kind of just give some advice, my overview, my thoughts, my opinion, and my experience. So I'm just gonna be looking at my phone because I have notes. So moving out of state is already a very difficult or long process. So first step would be to take your time. Take your time in terms of literally everything, saving money, planning where you're gonna go, why you're going there, everything. So I'm a very like who, what, when, where, why type of person. So we finna get into it. So when do you want to be there and when are you gonna move in? So I would say, because it's gonna take you at least 3 months to find a place, I mean, knowing like when you want to be moving in is very important so that you have your money ready to go. So are you going to move in at the beginning of the month? Sometimes they have like the 12th, the 15th, the 17th, depending on what day. Then your rent is prorated because you're coming in at the middle of the month. You're not coming in at the beginning. So when you're moving is very important. It's usually cheaper to move in the winter months. So usually about, I would say maybe October, November, December, even sometimes January is usually a good time to move because people aren't moving. A lot of the more expensive time to move is usually summertime or when school's starting. So that summertime, usually the rent is higher. And then also summertime and school starting, because people know that school starting, people that are going to college or just trying to find a new place, oftentimes they move around then. So a lot of families move during the summer so that their kids can start school in a new city in like August. So that's the win. And then for me, when I had moved to Atlanta, I moved in July and I waxed myself, so my wax ended up melting in my car. So you kind of have to keep in mind like the things that you have that could potentially be melting. Where do you want to go? What city and what state? I have been to Florida multiple times. The city that I moved to, I had never been to before, but I knew I wanted to move to Florida. But I did research on multiple cities within Florida. And I would say in terms of where you want to go somewhere that you, okay, number one, visit. And not just on the weekend, during the week, so you can see what it's like. It's also going to be cheaper for you to visit during the week. So visit during the week, see what it's like, see what's going on. Everybody doesn't have the means to stay for an entire week, but I'd say like maybe a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, somewhere in there. One, because it's cheaper to travel during the week, and two, because you're going to see like in terms of traffic, rush hour, what's going on during the week. So knowing what city you want to go to, what state you want to go to, doing research on the city, on the state in terms of crime, traffic, education, cost of living, even just going to see your apartment, you know, apartment tours, all of that in terms of what city, what state you want to go to. When I went to Atlanta, I had never been there before. My Atlanta experience was very strange and stuff. But I don't necessarily recommend moving to a state that you had never been to or a city that you've never been to. I definitely think that it's important to visit. How are you gonna get there? So when I moved to Atlanta, I got on the plane with 2 suitcases. I took Southwest and I went to Atlanta, and I had my car shipped from California to Atlanta. I packed everything in my car, everything that can fit in there. The front seat, the passenger seat, the back seat, and the trunk was completely full to the top. I didn't have no room for nothing. When I got to Atlanta, the only thing I purchased was a bed and a mattress. Everything else I had brought with me. So that saved me a lot of money because I was bringing things with me. And I also was only furnishing my room. I wasn't furnishing a whole apartment. So if you're going to be furnishing a whole apartment, you definitely need to have more money saved. But I also don't think that you have to be in a rush to furnish your place, because you're still getting used to being there. You're trying to adjust to possibly a time change, you know, your job, a new job, a different job, whatever the case may be. You might be looking for a job. So I would say have at least your room and your kitchen, like have kitchen items so you can cook for yourself, feed yourself, and then have your room so that you feel safe and comfortable within your room, and then worry about the dining room or the kitchen and the living room later. Like, as long as you have what you need to sleep and shower and eat comfortably, then I feel like that's all you really need. The company that I use to ship my car is Mercury Auto Transport. I've used them when I moved to Atlanta from California, and then when I moved back to California from Atlanta, and then I also use them again from California to Florida. The price varies on the type of car you have. I've never had any issues or complaints with me packing up my car. Nobody's ever said anything. There was no issues. With Mercury Auto Transport, you do pay a deposit, which is usually no more than $200 depending on the size of your car. I think the most I paid for my deposit was $150, or I would say $195, somewhere in there. And then I paid the rest once you get your car. So you pretty much get a guarantee that you're going to get your car returned, and it's usually in about 5 to 7 days. When my car was going to Atlanta, it took roughly about exactly six to 7 days, and when I got to Florida, it actually turned out to be like 4 or 5, but I had to wait to get my car back because the guy that drove my car here, he got here earlier than I did. And then I would say, like, why are you going to this city or state? What is it about this place that you're going to? And one thing that I've learned is every place is pretty much the same. So if you can make it in the city that you're from, you can make it anywhere, but you definitely have to have, you know, the drive, the motivation, the hard work, the work ethic to really do what you're supposed to do so that you can make it. So I wouldn't say move to Atlanta because that's where everybody's at, that's where it seems to be popping, or, you know, Houston or whatever. Don't go to these places that seem to be popular just because everybody else is going, or you think the rent is cheap, or your friends live there, or whatever. Go somewhere that you genuinely want to be, that is drawn to you, that you feel is somewhere you can grow, and it's a safe environment for you. So now on to, I guess, like my tips and my advice. I would say usually $5,000 is like a good rough estimate of how much you'll need in terms of moving, but about 3 months of expenses. So for me personally, I don't have a car now, and I was not paying rent back home before I moved out. So not having a car now and not previously paying rent changes my spending or my saving habits compared to somebody else that has a car now and they're planning to move out. That's an additional $300 I can save versus somebody else that is paying a car now and paying car insurance. So I was only paying, you know, gas, my phone bill, and car insurance. So those are like my main 3 bills, and groceries. Those are my main 4 bills that I have on a consistent basis besides my subscriptions. So if you have other bills, you need to take in mind those other bills and have, I would say, save up for the first 3 months of all those bills you have, and then an additional, I would say, 3 months of rent, because that's going to vary for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody. So whatever your main monthly bills are, plus 3 months of rent for the place that you're moving into, because for somebody else that might be $5,000, for somebody else that might be $7,000, for somebody else that might be $10,000. But if you're transferring jobs, then it probably won't be as difficult. And then, are you gonna have a roommate? Are you gonna live by yourself? Definitely go over like boundaries, things you like, things you don't like if you're gonna look for a roommate, and just have a very good line of communication. Don't be scared to be upfront and tell them what you like, what you don't like. If you don't want pets, if you like the dishes always in the dishwasher, make sure you take the trash out, they take the trash out. Who's gonna clean? Are you guys both gonna clean? Whole enchilada. Look at places 3 to 6 months ahead of time, so that you can constantly see like what's available, the prices, and different things, because the price does change like all the time. Do you want washer and dryer in unit, not in unit? Doesn't matter. Are utilities included? Are they not included? Is there parking? Is there not parking? Is there enough parking for the people that live there and guest parking? Is there only parking for the people that live there? It's a lot to kind of just ask a lot of questions about. And then when you are moving, you have to take into account of like Wi-Fi, renter's insurance, what's the other thing? Like in California it's called PG&E, so it's like gas, electricity, and water is all in one thing. In Florida it's like telco or something, I don't know. But there is a setup fee or whatever for setting up our water and electricity. So you definitely need to take into consideration for like whatever, like the registration or whatever that is. And then when you're moving to a new state, DMV does ask for a certain time frame for you to register your car, but there's people that have never registered their car in new states, so I would say like, you know, wait till you can do that, but it's not like necessarily a rush to get it done. So that is my tips, or just tips on moving out of state, different things that I've learned, my experiences moving out of state, the people that I've used. So I hope you find this video helpful, considering that I have moved out of state twice. $5,000 was a good amount of money for me moving out both times. However, you know, finding a job can vary if you're finding a job in different states versus transferring. Because I am a dental assistant, I am not able to transfer jobs. I have to find a new office. So I hope you find this video helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Don't be afraid to drop them down below. And yeah, that is my tips on moving out of state.